Okay guys, here's the last video now on creating your teach screen. I've already gone ahead and loaded all these buttons I've created, or we've created in with all the scripting. Rather than boring you with me typing and making a whole bunch of mistakes, because trust me, how do I know? I've already done it. I'm just going to open each button, or some of the buttons up, the major ones, and then we'll talk about what we've done, why we did what we did, and what it does. Again, like I said last video, in the description for this video there'll be a couple of text files or notepad files that includes all of the scripting. So is what you can really do is like I did with these, because I had already pre-done this. I went and opened up that notepad file and then just cut and pasted the text from the notepad file into my newly created button. Again, I'm not going to bore you with all that. Let's get started and we'll see what we've done here. So we're going to edit our button script, and we're doing all this right in Mach3 with it up and running. So we'll start with our program start. So basically what we've done here now, and this, I don't know if you've done any scripting or not, but so I'm not going to try and break it down too much. At any rate, so if we look at the first line, fixture equals get OEM DRO 46. So fixture is just a nickname I've created for a place where I want to store the value that we're going to get from OEM DRO 46, which OEM DRO 46 is this one right up here that we created that has work offset number. So it's going to look and see what work offset we're currently on, which in this case is 1 or G54, and it'll grab that 1 and put it in a register called fixture. The next thing, our next line then, is we're going to open teach file teach.text or txt. So it's going to create or open a file called teach.txt. Now, if you guys use TAP, you could change this to .tap. It doesn't really matter. Windows will store it then with either a file extension of .txt or .tap, whatever works for you personally. Okay, so once we've opened up our new teach file, we're going to add in code. So anytime scripting sees the word code, anything in quotations now is going to put directly into the program. So we're going to put in G59P. Well, the P doesn't have no value, so we want to then go and, so include the number from this register called fixture, which we know is 1. So ultimately it's going to put in the program G59P1. And then it's going to take and load that file over here under our file window. So quickly, if you don't know much about these scripting boxes, if you hit the play button, it will run the whole script. Obviously, if there's errors, it's going to chime up that there's an error and hopefully point you to where it is so that you can fix it. If you do this one, it'll play the script one line at a time. So real quick, we're going to go through this one line at a time and see what we've done. So first thing it does is it says it looks for fixture. Now if we hover over fixture, we see it shows a value of 1. So that's what we're going to put in our G59. So it's going to write G59P1, and then it's going to load that file up. Now if we look over in our file window, it's done exactly that, G59P1. Okay, so we're going to close this and open our next button. So something that's different, if you watch my first video, I actually had it do a G54. Well, I didn't like that, because I was afraid that, well, what if you're not in G54 at the time when you're utilizing this program? So I recreated that first program start to where it actually looks for the current offset and puts that in. Okay, so let's go over the program end button real quick. So now, since we've created our teach file, we don't have to do that again. So we're going to append teach file. And again, if you're using .tap, you would change this to TAP instead of TXT, so that it keeps referring to the same file it created without getting, without pointing it in the wrong direction. Then we're going to write code of M30 and then load teach file. So again, if we run this, it would immediately put an M30 in. We're not at the end of the program yet, so let's not do that. So let's keep going. So quickly we'll go over the button where it does a G, O, an X, and a Y. Because really the GO with just the X or just the Y, it's just parts of this. So let's look at what we've done here. Our first line, X equals get DRO 0. Well, get DRO 0, if we remember, this is DRO 0. This would be our 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to, X is going to get the value from DRO 0. And then I have an XR equals round X. Well, the problem is if by chance that X value is like 1.1234567 you don't want all those digits in your program. So the round will basically round it down to 4 places behind the decimal, so it would just be x.1234. Then we get the value in the YDRO, we round it down, we append our teach file, teach.txt. Then we start to write our text. So code, anything in parentheses again, it actually directly puts it into the program. So it'll put in GO, G90X, and then and our XR, which our XR net value now is the rounded down version of the current X position, and Y, and YR, which is again our rounded down current position of the Y axis. And then it loads that file. So if we run it, we'll see that happen. Well, we're currently at XO, so we didn't really see much, but at any rate, you get the gist of it. Okay, so let's now look at one with the F value. So we'll do G1, G90, X, Y, F. So basically, we're all the same here. We get our X value, we round it. We get our Y value and round it. Well, then we need to get our feed rate. So F rate, again, that F rate is just a nickname for a register. And I kind of make my nicknames so they make sense to me. F rate, well, F would be feed rate. Okay, so we're going to get the feed rate. So we get that from user DRO 2000. So we created this DRO here, and we called it 2000. It's not a standard Mach, it's a user one. So it's going to get whatever value we had punched in here, which currently is 25.75. It's going to get that and store it in register F rate. It's going to, once again, like we did before, append or modify that teach.txt file, and it's going to write a code of G1, G90X, and our XR rounded X value, and Y and our rounded Y value, and F rate. So it's going to put in the F, and then it's going to get the value for F rate. If we step through it, we can see here that our F rate is 25.75, so that's what we're going to go ahead and put in. So let's run this out. We can see it's done exactly that. Okay, so now let's try to make this video not too long. Let's look at the S and M3, and really this is going to apply to all of them, whether it's an M, the S, the T, anything else you create a button. So again, I've got snum, so that is a nickname. For me, that means I'm going to go get the S number. So snum equals get user DRO 2002, which we created this one, which currently has 10,500. We're going to append the teach file, teach.txt. We're going to write code of S and snum, plus it's going to add then an MO3 for spindle forward. Obviously, you can put whatever you want in there. Let's again walk through it, and we'll see that our snum equals 10.5. Go ahead and run it, and we see we get what we're looking for. Okay, now let's do the enter G code. That's a pretty complicated bit of script here. So as what we're doing here is it's going to open up a window that we can now enter our code into that we want to put into the program. So the way we do that is we say prompt equals. So when our box comes up, enter G code is going to be the header on the top of the box, which is basically asking the user, well, what do you want to put in? So in this case, it's going to be what G code do you want to enter? Default $ equals with the quotations, whatever you enter into the enter field, and when you hit enter, it's going to take that in quotations and then put it into our program. X% equals 200, Y% equals 200. Basically, my understanding of that is it's the area on the screen where it puts it. So those can be modified if you want to put the box in a specific place. Then we have $n$ equals input box, so that's what we tell it, input box, and prompt $, comma, default $. So once again, we're going to append or modify our teach text. Then for code, we just put code parentheses, and then ns. So it's going to go and look at what we put in ns here, and it's going to put it in our code it's going to put it into our G code. And then we're going ahead and just load that teach file. So if we run this, we will see our box pop up here. And so let's say we go G4 P2500, we hit enter. It takes now and puts G4 P2500 into our program. So that's one of the more complicated boxes or buttons. So let's go ahead and look at a couple more. Let's start with our program start for our new file. This is going to be a little different. So with the teach file, if you just restart the program, it's going to erase the current teach file and just start a new one. And then again, like we talked about in the first video, you would then have to, once you're all done, hit the edit button here and bring that file open and then rename it, and then going through the Windows operation, it would save it. If you already had it named, it would say, hey, no, do you want to overwrite? And it'd prompt you all that. With the new file, it won't do that. That was the only drawback. So once you create a new file name, even if there's one already there, it's just going to overwrite it, and Windows is not going to prompt you and tell you, hey, you're doing something you might not want to. It's just going to do it. So you need to be aware of that. But in a lot of cases, I think this works out easier for somebody writing a program rather than having to go back and edit and rename it and all that. At any rate, so since it's not going to automatically clear whatever's in our program window here, so let's say you've got a program already pulled up. If we were just hit program start without clearing that, it's either going to try and add to it or it won't display it properly. I'm not really sure what would happen at any rate, so I decided what we're going to do is we're going to do OEM button 169, which basically, if we look up 169 in the documentation, which for Mach3 is, well, it leaves a bit to be desired, but anyways, OEM button 169 is just back on the main run screen. It's just, clear or get rid of the current file. So we're going to do button 169 and clear out the old file. We're going to sleep for 200 milliseconds. And then we're going to create a new box like we did with the enter G code. We're going to create one that says enter program name. So we've got our prompt $ equals enter program name. That's what's going to appear at the top of our box to tell the operator what it's looking for. Default $ is just quotes, our X and Y location, and $ input box again, same as before, prompt $ default. Okay, now like with the teach one, I wanted to have it start off with the new program with our fixture offset. Again, you can put in whatever you like. This is just what I thought would work. So we once again use the nickname fixture. Go get the current one out of here, OEM DRO46. Okay, here's where it gets a little more interesting now. We're going to open teach file $n$ and .txt. So when we enter our program name, that's how we're going to want to enter it. And again, you can change this to TAP if that's what you use. I like to keep my main programs as TXT and my subroutines as .tap, but that's me. What you do is what you do. No way is right, no way is wrong. So we're going to create or open that new file now. And then we're going to add G59P and get our fixture number. Then we're going to load that file, and it's going to appear over here in our file window. Then we're going to sleep for, again, 200 milliseconds. And then this isn't really necessary for here, but if you're doing an X or a Y move in scripting and you want to make sure that the Y or the axis gets to its location before something else happens, we put in a while. Now this is while is loading equals 1. So while it's loading this program, because at some point as we're writing script we might have a program that's really long that takes some time to load. So while it is loading, we do nothing else. We wait. That's what the while is loading when is. Wait till it's done loading. If this was an X or Y move, we wanted to wait till it reached the end, you would say while is moving, and it will wait till the end. I just thought I'd throw that in there. Not that it's necessary here, but it's just it's just a little something to throw at you. Anyways, let's close this out and then we'll run it real quick. So if we hit program start, as we see, it cleared out the old program. It put our message box here roughly 200 by 200. It says up here enter program name, so let's call it fun.txt. Say OK. Now it creates our new program and it goes ahead and put on our first line G59P1. So there we go. So we're going to go just a quick bit here. For the most part, this is going to be all the same as it was in the teach file, with a small exception. So if we look at this one, which is very simple, we're going to x equals get DRO 0, which is this one, round it off. Now, since we're not using the teach file anymore like we were before, we have to tell it now a specific file to get. So that's where we say file equals get loaded G-code file name. So basically all that does is it looks to see what file is currently loaded here and gets that one because it's going to work with it. So we have to tell it now get the file, get loaded G-code file, the one we're currently working with, append teach file. So that is the same terminology, append teach file, but we have a space here which says file. So it's going to now take this file here, which we got the current one, and it's going to append it. And we're going to modify it, add in our code, GOG90X plus our rounded X position, and then we're going to load that file. So if we step through it, we get all that. Now we see file here equals fun.text.text. Okay, we made a small mistake, but that's okay. We don't need to put the .txt in when we start our new program. Hey, we all are learning here. Okay, there we go. So it added in our GOG90XO. So let's go ahead and get out of that. For the most part, I think everything else is going to be the same here as far as all this goes. We can look at something. Let's go ahead and look at like the M-code. So again, I just like I did with the S code, M-num means it's just a nickname for the number that shows up here in the M window. So we're going to get DRO 2001, which is this 8. File, get loaded G-code file name again, append teach file like we did before. We're going to put in the M and then get that number, which in this case would be 8, and load that teach file. Let's step through it and we'll see what it does. So again, well, it's not going to show us. All right. Anyway, so there we go. We put in our M8. So I think for the most part, basically that gives you everything you need to do. Again, there'll be two links to the two TXT or notepad files for both the teach file column of buttons and the new file column of buttons, and you can download those and put them on your computer, and then you can just cut and paste this stuff into your own buttons and then play with it and experiment and see what you guys can learn in order to make your own teach screens work exactly how you want. Some of this stuff, like I said before, when I first did it, I just had, in the start of the program, I just had it putting in the, G54. I wasn't really happy with that. I wanted it, if we go here to MDI and we do G57, so now we've got G57 here, and we can see that our position values have changed to our new work coordinate system. Let's say we start our program again, and we'll just do fun again. See, now it puts in G59P4, which realistically, P4 is G57. And like I said, I wanted it to be able to pull whatever the current work offset was, and it took me a few days of, pounding my head against the wall to figure it out. And then it dawned on me one day that, well, why is it that G59P7 is really the first of the extended work offsets. Well, then it occurred to me it's because G59P1 is G54, G59P2 is G55, and so on and so forth. So I made a change here. The point being, if you guys run into a situation where you're trying to program a button and you've tried a lot of script, and you can't seem to get it to do what you want, hey, just put a comment on this video there in YouTube, and I'll get it, and then maybe we can work it out and beat our two heads together and figure it out. Anyways, so I think for now we're pretty good. Again, the two links will be in for the two text files. And once again, if you like this video, please hit the subscribe button. And if you have any comments or you want some help, by all means, throw some comments out there, and we'll see what we can do. Okay, thanks for watching.